still use it, but this works as well as the hibiscus food, and it is an organic product, which we really prefer.
You can use it for your crepe myrtles, so just put it around it.
Sprinkle it around the root system and water it in. It's excellent. That's another advantage to using a granular as opposed to a liquid fertilizer is you only need to do it about once every 4 to 6 weeks. Liquid fertilizers we recommend Has to Grow, and natural solutions are excellent, but you do need to use them about every 2 weeks if you really want them to be effective. If you have the time and are willing to do that, that works fine, but this is good for, lower maintenance.
Can you overuse that or overfeed with that?
You can. It's not really going to hurt anything, but basically you're just wasting your time and money by using it more often than you need to. You're not going to get any more benefit from doing it once a week as you would opposed to every 4 weeks. The other thing I do tell people, especially if you're putting it on things that are already in the ground and you're putting it on the soil surface, this product does, because it's organic, it will actually grow a little kind of a gray mold, and it's actually a beneficial fungus that will actually help to control the non-beneficial fungus in the soil, so don't panic. Very oftentimes people will call and say, I put this stuff on, now I've got mold growing on everything, but it's a good mold. Okay, we've got that set. Now we're going to start working with some color. I'm going to kind of move up, since I've got this placed in the center. I'm going to, in this area, put some plants that are a little bit more what I call a mounding shape. They kind of grow upright, but not really. They just kind of have a nice full. This is a Torrenia, and it's a nice full look. And I'm going to place it not completely upright, but slightly angled. Right next, and it's going right next to the root ball on that fern. I've got several of these here. And these are going to be real pretty when they grow in. They're a purple and white variety of the Torrenia. Now the blue one you see here is a trailing variety. This is going to be more of a mounding variety, so they have a different growth habit even though they are the same plant. And what I usually do when it comes to placement, I kind of use these hooks here as an anchor to know if I'm getting it evenly spaced. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect, but that's a good general rule so you can kind of follow and see where you are. I'm going to add a little more soil on this side because it's a little bit low. And I'm filling in. And do not be afraid when you are dealing with annuals to place them right next to the root of the plant. The annuals, this will be gone by winter, so by the time this fern starts to grow in and establish more roots, these guys are going to be gone, so you're not going to have to worry about them getting overgrown. If you were dealing with perennials in a basket, you will need to really increase your spacing. I don't like to use a lot of perennials in hanging baskets, depending on what they are, because they do tend to overgrow, with the exception of just the greenery. I wouldn't put like lantanas and verbenas because they tend to get very, very root bound after 2 or 3 years and not look as good. Okay, I'm going to go back and throw a little bit more soil in here. Another advantage to using the annuals is, again, you can switch them out every growing season and get a different look. Okay, we're going to do, so I've got 4 of these, and I'm setting those right next to that root ball and right on top of that color essential, so they're going to get established very quickly. And that kind of softens the line between the upright. What you don't want to do is put something right here in the middle and then have something else just coming out. You want to make a fan shape so that it just kind of has a natural flow to it. Okay, now we need some more ferns. And the reason I'm adding that is, again, to kind of soften that. This is a little maidenhair fern. Same thing. I'm using a 4-inch on this one because I don't have a whole lot of space here, so I'm going to compress that root ball a little bit. And I'm just going to tuck that right in there. This variety of maidenhair, they call it rosy maidenhair, or some people call it 5-finger maidenhair. They call it rosy because the new growth comes out sort of a rose bronze color.
You're angling that also?
Slightly. Now it has a naturally sort of cascading growth habit, so again it's going to create a soft texture in there. And I'm just putting that right in between the 4 Torrenias I have there. Oh no! Okay, one more. And now we're ready to really add some color. I'm going to use Impatiens. Now this is a real versatile size plant to work with because this is what's known as a 4-pack. And there's 4 tiny little plants in here. And you can use it as a single plant if you want it to grow in larger, or you can divide them into either 2 or 4 depending on how much space you have. So these are a nice size to work with. Now these, I just split the roots on that, but they were actually individual plants already growing, and you can tell because the container is actually split.
They always need so much more water though.
The Impatiens, again, if you're putting them in a moss lined basket, they're going to stay relatively moist. I have found they do need regular moisture. However, most people have a tendency to overwater them. If you've ever had Impatiens that rot, it's typically because they're staying too wet. You cannot let them get bone dry. You have to keep them regularly watered, but water thoroughly, and then just let that soil surface get barely dry, and then water again. Now I'm tucking these right in the side here, and I'm taking and split it in 2. And since they're so small, I'm going to put a little moss around them just to help hold them in place so they don't fall through. And again, the moss does help to retain moisture, so Impatiens are good for moss-lined baskets. There are some plants that are not particularly well adapted to moss-lined, for example, vincas, because they like really dry soil and they don't like moisture around the crown of the plant. They're kind of hard to grow in a moss-lined basket unless you're real diligent about not overwatering. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm just going to go through and I'm splitting these into sections of 2. And I'm just placing them right next to ferns.
So if you have an old wire basket with moss on it from a previous year, should you take it all off and start over? Or
It depends on if you want to side plant it. It'll be easier for you to take it out and start over than to try to work in between, because the moss tends to get really dry, and if you you know, if you're working with that and you have to pull it out, it's just not as easy to really get a full look. And if you let it dry out, you can just take the whole thing and just dump it, and the whole thing, root ball and moss and everything will come out. So now I'm doing the same thing here. I'm just tucking around here and adding some moss in there to hold those in place. More plants. It is easy.
You've been doing it a long time.
Okay, I'm going to add a little more moss and soil right there because I don't have enough soil to really hold the plants in here. So I'm going to tuck in a little more moss here.
If we came over here and didn't know what variety of plants to put in for the type of either sun or full sun, should someone here assist us?
Yeah, just add, you know, I'll be happy to do that. I do that a lot for people who want to plant their own. We also do custom planting for people, but if you want to plant your own, just, you know, either bring your basket, and I can help you select plants for that particular basket, you know, and just, again, look at your light conditions and make sure you know what you're looking for, and we can tell you how many and what will work well together.
That would be good until you get a handle on, you know, if you've never done one before, it might be helpful.
Yeah, a lot of people will come in and I'll just say, you know, you need 4 of these and 3 of these, and they plant it exactly like I tell them. Well, then once they've done it once or twice, then they get confident enough that they can select their own plants and kind of mix and match. So, you know, initially,
You know plants very well.
that's what we're here for. Okay, now I'm going to come back through and I'm going to continue to add some plants here. I'm basically going to make a whole row of these little Impatiens around the edge
Does
here.
the root ball of the impatient have to touch the dirt in the basket?
It prefers to, yes. They'll grow even in just moss, but it'll get a better established root
You are
ball.
so awesome.
Plants are more tall than you think.
She's telling us that they're more forgiving than we realize. I think they like
You know, very oftentimes they do say that when you stress a plant, it thinks it's going to die, so it starts blooming in order to produce seed, so it continues its life cycle.
Some gardener.
Some gardener like her.
Okay, I'm going to add a little more moss on the front side here. And like I said, it's just kind of like making a layer cake. You're just building it up. Just keep going. Now sometimes, and on this basket in particular, you can see how the bars on this side of it, because it's twisted, are a little bit narrower at the
Yes.
top. So I'm going to tuck it under the one underneath. And on that one, this plant was small enough I could actually tuck it from the outside in. And I'm going to put a little bit of moss under there to hold it in place. Otherwise, it's just going to fall right through.
How many patients is that gonna take a dozen?
Probably about 16.